welcome you to another exciting episode of Pens in Use. This week, not lots of changes, but a few, so let's jump right in. First of all, as almost always, the Lamy 2000 is in use. Pilot Justus 95. Sorry, drawing a blank there. TWSBI 580 aluminum. I just realized I can push that up a little on the screen. Parker 51, which I will be talking about. This one here, the Platinum 3776, I will be using in conjunction with a sailor. I can finally intelligently respond to a question a viewer asked about a month ago, so I'll be doing that tonight. I have here Monteverde Regatta Sport. I have my Lanxivi Crocodile pen with some damage, which we'll talk about that too. I have my Waterman's 52, which was a gift from Chris Rapp 52. And finally, my Pilot FairMo, which is a review I will be filming. In fact, two of the pens you see here are reviews I hope to film over this break. So let's get these pups out of the way. And let's talk about what we see here. So just for fun, let's start with this, the Monteverde Regatta Sport. Now, before I actually do any writing, I want to zoom in a little. I just wanted to point out, because I've been talking a little bit about materials with some of my science students. This is carbon fiber. Now, on this pen, it doesn't perform anything more than decorative purposes. But you can get a nice close-up of the carbon fiber there, and you can just see how it's woven of individual threads. Just fascinating to me. And since I'm on the Monteverde, I haven't done any videos where I do a catch up on the pen, or how do you like it now? Stephen Brown does those. But I thought something I've noticed on the nib here. Let's see if I can turn this in a way that the glare from the light in there doesn't bother. Yeah, there you can see it. On the nib, the paint has chipped off. So it's apparently a black paint of some kind. It's starting to chip off the nib. So what that means, I don't know, but it is a thing. And, I've had the pen for a few years now. If you use your pens, you have to accept some wear and tear. Now, I gave a pen, it was another Monteverde, which I've reviewed. I can't recall the name, but I had Dragon's Napalm in it in the review. I gave it as a gift to somebody, and what I was just showing you around the grip, all the black paint has chipped off of it, and it looks horrible. In fairness, Monteverde was willing to make it right, but he chose not to. Alright, so let's pull this magnifier off and let's get to pens in use. Pens in use so far is about as close as I get to doing a how do you like me now type thing. Alright, so today is April 14th, and I need something for the camera to focus on. Alright, so I am writing with my Monteverde Regatta Sport. The nib in it is a 1.1 millimeter stub nib. No, yes, sorry, 1.1 millimeter. The ink, it's a brand I don't hear much about in the fountain pen world. I don't know why. It's decent enough ink. It's Levenger Forest. I won't say I'm particularly passionate about it. I'd be curious to try some of their other colors, but I haven't seen any samples for sale anywhere, so haven't bought them. I just bought this one bottle just to try it out. But anyway, not bad ink. The pen's not bad either. It's a little on the dry side, but it writes perfectly well. And it's the only pen I have with a magnetic cap, and it posts magnetically. So you can make yourself annoying with this pen after a while, if you ever want to be annoying. All right. I'll give you a close-up, sort of a close-up here. This is my Lanxivi Crocodile pen, which I reviewed recently. Good thing I reviewed it when I did, because it had contact with the floor this week, and not in a good way. Crack right there. I tried to glue it neatly, but I am not good at that neat thing. Luckily, the damage wasn't too bad, so it's still going. I've had some suggestions about Lanxivi. One is that it's not actually a brand of pen at all, that it may... who was this? I think this was Inktronics blog, suggested it may be a distributor who asks to have their brand name tacked onto the pen. So, I do know there is a Crocodile brand pen. So, I wonder if this is the... Oops, clip, not clib. I wonder if this is the same people. I once had a Crocodile pen. I didn't like it much. I wonder if this is the same brand, just a different Crocodile. Because I remember the Crocodile and the nib from that one. This was before I got into fountain pen reviewing. It was a horrible pen. But anyway, I love this one. Even cracked, I like it. So let's see here. Lanxivi Crocodile clip. And the ink is Noodler's Dragon's Napalm. I will say that I can tell the seal isn't perfect on this pen. And this is before I had an encounter with the floor. Because on less absorbent paper, now this is very absorbent paper, it has a tendency to take forever and ever to dry. Alrighty. I think I've mentioned that I'm a teacher before. I am, when my seniors give me a graduation announcement, I'll respond with a personal note, just on one sheet. And I try to write it nicely. And then I do a lot of photography around the school, so I include a private link to their pictures that I've collected over the years. Now, some kids have more pictures than others. You know, if they're in a lot of stuff, it's easier to get pictures. But anyway, I filled this up with the idea a lot of those notes are going to be written with this one. So this is an old pen, probably from the teens or the 20s. This was from Chris Rapp 52, who saw my channel and wanted me to find out what a flex nib was. Unbeknownst to him, I'd gotten into vintage and had been trying out a Centro pen, probably the most flexible nib I own. You'll be seeing it make an appearance from time to time in these videos. In fact, I'll probably be inking that up soon too for these graduation cards, because I get bored with just one pen. Now this ink is really dark on this paper. I've noticed that every week that I've had it in. I don't notice that with other papers, but you know, you may love an ink on one paper but not on another. I honestly do not love it on this paper, but I love the ink on other papers, like the Tomoe River paper where all these notes are being written. Montegrappa, Bordeaux. Another viewer, Jean Forrest, suggested that I learn how to spell this word because I had it misspelled in one of my videos a few weeks back. Let's see if I remember which one. It's been a while. Been a long while, apparently. Well, who cares? It was back a ways. Or maybe it was in a review, who knows. I've got one more page to turn here. Oh, there it is! So on January 20th, 2000... Hey, seriously? Okay, yeah, that was another thing he noticed. It was not 2016, it was 2017, but yeah, there's where it was misspelled. So, yeah, very helpful. I like to have people point these things out to me, because then I can fix them. If you don't point out what I'm doing wrong, I won't fix it, because I don't know. Alrighty, let's see. This is one of the reviews I plan to film over a break. Pilot Fermo, so I'll give you a closer look then, but you know, it's kind of like the Pilot Vanishing Point, just a little smaller. But what's interesting is its twist mechanism. So Pilot Fermo. And I may have mentioned that I'm trying out some black inks. This one is one of my trials. I just don't remember which one off the top of my head. Oh, Platinum Black. Regular, standard, ordinary Platinum Black. You know, it's an okay black. I like the bottle. that it comes in. I don't own this particular bottle, but I do own a bottle of platinum ink, and the bottle's great. It has a inkwell in it. Um, I'm not sure that this is a truly black. So it's not really in the front running, but it's not a bad ink, really. The pen isn't bad either if you put the right ink in it. I had some, what was it, Organic Studio Chlorophyll? I think that's what I was going to use for my reviews. And then I started writing with it. It was horrible. I mean, it's like the pen was out of ink all the time. It was that bad. So not the ink for that pen, apparently. All right, this is the TWSBI 580 aluminum. That's supposed to be a capital T. This is in the broad nib. Oh, the Pilot Fermo, by the way, was a fine. So with the broad nib, and then wow, 580 aluminum. Really messed that up, didn't I? And that should be a lowercase l. I've mentioned before that this ink, I don't mind the color, but it's supposed to have a reddish sheen. And even on the Tomoe River paper, I haven't seen it yet. With this pen, maybe I need to put it in a super flexible pen. I don't know, but hasn't been quite as amazing as people led me to believe. But sometimes when you have high expectations, they're disappointed no matter what, because you've just gotten unrealistic expectations. So Robert Oster, Fire and Ice. And it seems like that's a song from the 80s, maybe? Because whenever I write the name of this ink, because I write to my pen pals, I always tell them what ink I'm using. It's just, I've got this line, hopefully I'm not breaking a copyright law or scaring off any viewers, like fire and ice, Clara, something like that. Anyway, now you heard me sing on this channel. I'm going to reset the camera real quick, because I'm back to the regular camera. I'll just mention, I had the loan of a camcorder for a while, and so you may have noticed some of my videos looked a little different while I was using that. I always thought I looked a little out of focus in those videos, but I'll tell you, I liked it. I liked that I could look up and I'd see myself. I wouldn't have to look to the side here to look at my face in the iPad. It was kind of fun. I did some video while I drove back from Bismarck. I may upload that yet. We'll see. And I was talking into it, and I own a lavalier mic, so I was using that with it, and it was interesting. I think it'd be easier to do these if you like the channel Veritasium. He does a lot of science, and Veritasium 2, where he does more dialogues with the camera. I think a camcorder would be a lot easier to do that with. I've got footage of me walking around downtown Rapid City, and that's horrible. That's what they call shaky cam. I don't even know if I want to upload that. It was interesting to see downtown Rapid City, but oh my god, is that horrible, just the way I recorded it. So, I don't know, something I'm thinking about. I have one or two pens that I spent some money on, but the budget has room for a camcorder if I cut some other things out. So I am seriously thinking about it. Not that I really need a camcorder, but we'll see. Anyway, so this pen is always fun. You've seen it before. I have inked it up, I think, twice now. This is the last of my first bottle of the ink that's in it. So this is a Pilot Justus 95. Has one of my favorite inks of all time. I just love this green. In fact, green is one of my favorite colors. If you saw the outside of my house in any of my videos, you would know I love green. If my car weren't a used car, you'd know it from that too. But the ink here is Sailor Epinard, which is sadly discontinued. A kind person several years ago sent me a bottle of Sailor Epinard, so I'll be breaking into that bottle next. And when that's gone, that's the end of Sailor Epinard. It'll be forever a memory. But I love this ink. I love that color. So I've been also kind of trying out a few alternatives to that. None of them so far have the shading, though. I've gotten this color, just not with the shading. All right, here is my Stalwart Lamy 2000 with a fine nib. And as always, Noodler's Black. Nothing wrong with that ink. I just feel this need to try some others out. I just thought of this. I'm going to put this magnifier back on because I want to look at something. I want to look closely at the written word. Alright, so this is on the Noodler's Black. Let's see. That's probably about as good as it can be focused. Yeah. And look how well that behaves there. Not a lot of shading to it. Now let's go up and look at the Platinum Black. Oops, that's not black. There we go. Now, this is more gray, I would say. Just for fun, let's look at the Sailor Epinard real quick. See, there you can see it. I like that shading and then that nice color. That's just such a... I mean, that's what color I would want a car. That's cool. And then here's this disappointing Fire and Ice. If I had... Well, let's just see how it shows up on my... This is Clairefontaine that I'm looking at. You can't see it yet. But here it is in the TWSBI aluminum Clairefontaine paper. See, no, none of that. Here is right after I inked it up. Nothing. I can get a little with my Tomoe River paper, but hardly worth it. So just kind of disappointing. Oh, and what are we looking at right now? I don't even know. Oh, let's just real quick. That ink, the Levenger, is feathering a little bit. Not bad, but it is feathering. You can see it. And here is Dragon's Napalm. Not bad. It's supposed to have kind of a brownish shading, which I've never seen, but yeah. And then, while we're doing this, let's hit them all. Montegrappa Bordeaux, which is usually more pale than that. I'll show you. Yeah, here we go. On my Clairefontaine paper where I write down as I ink up a pen. See, that's awesome. I just love that. And I just noticed something else. I misnamed the ink. It was not called chlorophyll. It's called Gregor Mendel. But, I mean, it's just horrible. It actually looks good under this microscope, but when I write with it, it just skips. It's horrible. So, yeah, I dumped it out of the pen. Alrighty, so that was fun. I'm so glad I bought this. I haven't actually used it for teaching yet, but it's, a cheap little thing to add to the camera, and I love it. And I know where I will use it in teaching, just haven't had one of those moments lately. Alright, so this is another review I hope to film this weekend. When I do these vintage reviews, I always like to talk more about the company and a little bit of history, put the pen in context. And you haven't seen any vintage reviews lately because, well, I just haven't had time, honestly. I've been busy. And, why did I add this new notebook series in the midst of being busy? Who knows, but I did. Anyway, actually I do know. It's because of opening a student's notebook. Something I'll have to talk about at the end of this video. We're getting long here. Alright, so this is a Parker 51 from Norway because I got it in a trade with Ove Bjornsson. I'm not sure of the nib size. I see feathering even without the microscope on. The ink here is Dea Trementis. And I just find a lot of the Dea Trementis inks do spread a bit more. Blackberry, which is a scented ink. I questioned myself before I put that in, but I actually like the color of this ink a lot. It kind of reminds me of Noodler's Black Swan and Australian Rose, but it has its own unique qualities. And it smells absolutely nothing like blackberries. I mean, the house where my parents still live, and I lived as a kid, it's in a clearing in the forest, because they don't live in North Dakota. Why do I? Sometimes I wonder. But the whole clearing was surrounded by blackberry bushes. So in the summer, you're hungry, just go out and pick your own blackberries. It was Awesome. I missed that. All right, so now for my last two pens, I was asked, actually, I think it's been a month ago, by private message, so I won't give this person's name. But anyway, he asked about the difference between a Sailor and a Platinum 3776. And so I have both here. I did finally buy a Sailor. This is not a Sailor Realo. This is a different Sailor. So I've had two Sailors. Did I talk to you about the Sailor Realo? Yes, I did. Okay. I gave up on that ink, by the way. But anyways, this is a Sailor Fresca. It's a 1911 Fresca. This is a standard. It's so you can see very similar in shape, maybe a little more pointy on the Sailor. As far as feel, the Sailor is heavier. I don't have numbers to tell you how much. You will get more feedback with the Platinum. Now this is a soft medium nib, so we're not doing apples to apples here. So this is a Platinum. And I don't know if you can hear that. By the way, a lot less feathery with this ink. I've been a little disappointed that this microphone doesn't pick up pen sounds real well. But it is what it is. Now this one is the Sailor 1911 Standard. And the ink, or the nib on it, is a broad. And the ink, drawn a blank. Okay, let me look it up real quick. Sorry. Lamy turquoise. Oh, sorry, that is not a broad nib. This is a zoom nib. I'll come back to that. Lamy turquoise. T-U-R. Wow, just not spelling correctly. That's horrible. I do know how to spell turquoise, but zoom nibs are kind of fun because if you write with the pen very upright, you get a very thin line. If you lay it down, you get a very broad line. And depending on your angle, you can get everything in between. So the Sailor nib, anyway, what I found between this one and the Realo you saw last week, they are flexible a little bit. So I guess they call it bounce, because do not flex these nibs. But they have a little bounce to them. They're not exactly soft. This Platinum is soft. Not flex, but it's soft. The less feedback here, but still enough you know you're writing. And I think, since I'm here, it's worth zooming in zooming in on a zoom nib. Alright. So if I turn it over, anyway, you can kind of see blob, but then it gets pointy. I'll try and add an arrow or something in later so you can get a better view of that. Pointy. Yeah, and flattened on the sides, you can see that. So that's a zoom nib. So when I review this pen, this is only the second time I've filled it. We'll talk about this nib, and I'll try to work out a better way to show it to you. So this was just kind of a quick down and dirty look at the nib. So anyway, I hope this was interesting. I hope it was useful. I hope, some people have worried about the zoom nib being too exotic. I was one of them. I'm watching my screen instead of you. Some people have worried about the zoom nib and, is it too exotic? I know I did. So I thought long and hard, do I really want a zoom nib with a brand I have never even tried before? Well, I did it, and it was a gamble, and it was a good gamble. I'm really happy with the zoom nib. I don't write with it upright and all fine like that very often, but every so often. So yeah, as far as this person's question, I totally abandoned it there about the differences between the Platinum and the Sailor. The Sailor definitely has a more quality feel, has less feedback on the nib, even the standard nib. But personally, I like the Platinum a little better. I suppose that comes down to a matter of taste. If the feedback and the slightly cheaper feel bother you, you won't like the Platinum. Sailor does not come in a wide variety of finishes. I mean, I think this Robin's Egg, this Fresca color is pretty exotic for Sailor. Platinum experiments with different finishes, different colors. They explore a little bit more. I don't really care for the Sailor cartridge. Don't particularly like the Platinum cartridge either, but the Platinum cartridge, or did I say cartridge? I meant converter. The Platinum converter feels a little more quality to me. So there is that. Overall, I prefer the Platinum, but the Sailor's nice too. There's weasel words. So I thank you for watching. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.